Ladies and gentlemen, what a thumbnail, huh? Lately, in King Arthur Legends Rise, you're in one of two camps. You're either in the camp that is worried about the game's health and future, or you're in the other camp that everything's fine, quit crying, you whiny Canadian baby. So I have been in multiple discussions concerning the health of this game, which I cover, that we play. I've been in discussions on Discord, on YouTube, my YouTube comments, even on Twitch. And one of the things, I always hear the same arguments. And I always try to insert into that argument, you don't understand Netmarble. There are clear red flags. There are horrible metrics behind the scenes that most people never look at the actual metrics behind a game. They just play it and they're like, oh, this is awesome. So this video is going to be a little bit of a behind the curtain expose on Netmarble. And we're also going to talk about the kind of behind the scenes in the development of King Arthur Legends Rise, as well as monthly revenue, monthly download metrics. I want to just lay out all of the data for you guys, present a case. There's going to be a lot of historical references to Netmarble's past failures and the signs that were there, testimonials about those failures, about the company. I'm going to lay out all the data for you, and then that's it. I won't have to argue anymore. I'll just link this video. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. The patch is tonight. So we're all waiting breathlessly for the patch tonight to give us something that shows signs of life. So let's get into it. Grab a drink, even though I know this is first thing in the morning. What window do I want to go to? Oh, right here. But, you know, if you're in Australia or whatever, whatever, crack a drink anyway. If you're at work, just raid the beer fridge. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to start is I kind of want to just talk about Netmarble in general, the company behind this game. So I got some data here for you. This is, and yeah, sorry that the sound is out, and sorry that the graphic is fuzzy, but this is their net profit for 2020 through 2024. So this is pulled, and I clipped it all down so you could only see the net profit lines. If you want, I can give you the references. You can go see gross revenue, EBITDA margins, or EBITDA, blah, 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 blah. But what you can, first thing right here, this is back in 2020. Netmarble was, doing good. So for the year, 306 million profit, not a lot, but it's a game developer, 306 million. I don't know if 339 billion South Korean won. It goes a lot further over there, probably does, but 306 million profit after expenses in 2020. And then in 2021, which was, 2020 and 2021 were the height of the COVID years. This is when mobile games were popping. This was the time to launch because everyone was stuck at home. Everyone was playing video games. Twitch had a huge popularity boost. It was the golden age of gaming for that brief little while. In 2021, you saw their net profit dropped by, is this half? From 306, yes, down to 149 million US dollars. And then in 2022, this is when the company started going through some really bad times. And I remember them firing a whole bunch of developers because I was playing a different and covering a different Netmarble game at the time. This was not a good time for Netmarble. So you see for the year in 2021, or 2022, a negative, or so a loss of $724 million, which just erased the last couple of years' profits. What did they say here? A dramatic shift to a net loss. Dramatic shift. Heavily impacted by one-time impairment losses of so-and-so on game titles and subsidiaries alongside rising exchange rates and interest expenses. So one-time impairment losses on game titles. Basically, they had a whole bunch of games just fail in 2022. In 2023, you see that they also had a loss of $119 million. So now they're up around $1 billion in 2 years. And then in 2024, No, that's the EBITDA. And then in 2024, you see they turned it around just barely. This is last year, just barely squeaked out a profit of 4.6 million. And if you broke this down by the quarter, what did they say? A modest positive shift from a net loss through tempered by impairment losses and rising expenses in Q4. What saved Netmarble? They would have had another huge negative year. But last year, I think it was in the middle of the year, is when Solo Leveling Arise came out. And that game is just, and we'll show you some metrics later, that game saved this company. Because they would have been just year on year on year of just loss. So the company itself behind King Arthur's Legends Rise, they're still in recovery mode. They don't have the leeway to just spend a lot of time on a game that is losing money for them or that they haven't recouped their costs from that game. So that's just Netmarble revenue. If you guys want these screenshots, I've got them all saved. I can supply them to you. I even got them broken down a little bit deeper. So now let's talk about King Arthur Legends Rise. I tried to find out how much this game cost to make. Because if you don't know, it went through a little bit of a developmental hell. It was in beta for like 2 years. So here we go. So I tried to ask, how much did this game cost? I couldn't find any hard number. But through some funky AI agent sleuthing, I came to this. So as an educated guess, based on industry trends, King Arthur Legends Rise is a blah, 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 blah game, powered by the Unreal Engine 5, which Netmarble is used in other games. It's a robust gacha, blah, 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 and it goes over a little brief thing of the game. Games of this scale with a focus on realistic graphics and a global launch often require substantial investment. Because we all have to give credit to King Arthur Legends Rise. The boss cinematics, the bosses themselves, the character models, it looks really nice. Like it has a really nice high-end feel. So for comparison, mid to large scale mobile game RPGs with similar features typically cost anywhere from $10 million to $50 million to develop, depending on factors like the team size behind it, development time, which this game was a long development time, marketing budget, technology used. Given Kabam's experience with titles like Marvel Contest of Champions, Disney Mirrorverse, and the involvement of multiple studios, Kabam Vancouver, Montreal, and others, the budget for King Arthur Legends Rise could lean towards the higher end of that range, potentially exceeding $30 million when including marketing and post-launch support costs. So keep in mind that number. We'll take what their recommendation of just the little bit over onto the high side from the median, $30 million US to develop King Arthur Legends Rise. Now let's get into how much has the game made. It was in pre-launch, I think a month, so in November, and then the global launch was at the end of November. So if we look at, and again, these numbers I had to kind of sleuth through, and again, sorry for the graininess, but as it says, publicly available snippets from Sensor Tower suggest that in the early months, the game was estimated to generate around $200,000 per month on iOS alone, with a download size of 90,000 monthly. This figure aligns with posts on gaming forums and Reddit threads tracking gacha performance, though it's not comprehensive. Since Sensor Towers typically tracks mobile revenue, iOS and Google Play, and not PC earnings, this is a partial picture. So do keep in mind, I will concede that we can see purchases made through the iOS and the Google Play Store, but we can't see the purchases through the PC launcher, which generally PC launchers are people that have them or that play on them. Generally, they play on their phones and they play on their computer when they can. This game, there is a chance that it does bring in equal. I wouldn't say that though, but I'll give it the chance that it can bring in equal revenue to what through Samsung or Google Play and iOS. Although I would say that this is a mobile game, the vast majority of the revenue, I'm going to say, is coming from the mobile segment. So let's just say just under half of the revenue from the from your phones, it's also generating through the client, PC client. And this caveats that right here. So mobile revenue. If we assume $200,000, and that's low. 200,000 monthly on iOS and roughly double that for Android. A common split, as Android has more downloads but lower per user spending. That's interesting, meaning that if you have an iPhone, you have more money generally, or you have more disposable income. So combined from mobile, they're saying $400,000 to $500,000 per month across all the mobile platforms. For the 4 months, December through March, this totals $2 million. So let's say 3.5 when you factor in PC client, but I know that this value is more generous because we're going to go look at actual Sensor Tower data, because I got into Sensor Tower, which is a subscription-based service. So these numbers that I'm showing you on the screen are actually lower in reality, but just this AI is estimating that this game has possibly made $2 million on mobile from launch. And then PC, so they don't break down PC by the actual Netmarble launcher versus Steam. So Steam data shows mixed reviews, 434 reviews, ooh, and no massive player concurrency. Peak estimates of under 1,000 players playing this game. That was probably for like 2 days, suggesting modest PC earnings. Gacha games on PC often make 20 to 30% of mobile revenue. There you go. 20. That's what I was saying. I was being generous. I was saying like 50%. This data is saying that on PC, they often make 20 to 30% of mobile revenue, unless heavily optimized for the platform. Let's conservatively estimate $400,000 to $600,000 total from Steam over 4 months. So Steam, I guarantee you, it did not make that much money on Steam. And then they say launch boost. Gacha games typically see a revenue spike at launch due to the hype and pre-registration rewards. If King Arthur Legends Rise followed this pattern, December 2024 could have doubled the monthly average, adding another 500,000 to 1 million. So, in summary, and I'm sorry, this is probably not what you came here to see, but I found this really interesting. Combining these, a rough estimate of total revenue from launch to March 30th, which is today, lands between 2.5 million and 3.5 million. This assumes steady but not breakout performance, consistent with a game that's gained some traction but isn't topping the gacha charts. Example, this estimate has caveats. Sensor Tower data isn't fully public without a subscription. I'm going to show you the actual numbers, which are a lot lower. And I'm synthesizing from limited web mentions, industry norms, and the game's visible footprint. Actual figures could be lower if it underperformed, or higher if Netmarble's monetization, in quotations, known for aggressive bundles, remember those big old huge $100, $150 bundles, hits a sweet spot with players. For a precise number, you'll need direct access to Sensor Tower's dashboard or Netmarble's financials that might surface later in 2025. Okay, so what have we learned? It's likely the game cost $30 million to make. Let's bring that back up. And being very generous, they're saying that it maybe has made 2.5 to 3.5 million since launch. So let's just run the numbers. So if pull out the old calculator, 30 million divided by, let's say right in the middle, 3 million, meaning it's going to take them at least almost a year, so 10 months, based on these optimistic estimates, to break even, just to cover the costs of the game. But they are not raking in these numbers, which I'll show you later. So, game likely costs a lot of money, not bringing in a lot of revenue. I'm going to show you in instances of games where they bring in like the typical Netmarble game that they want. I'm going to show you some of those examples, like Solo Leveling Rise and some other Korean games where they bring in like millions of dollars a month. Those are the games they focus on. Now that you know a little bit of the history of Netmarble's financials, now that you know a little bit of the backstory of how much King Arthur was likely cost to make and how much revenue they generate, and we'll clarify that further on, I want to discuss Netmarble's history with other games, because you're going to see a lot of similarities to what's going on only 4 months, November or December, January, February, March, 4 months after launch of King Arthur Legends Rise. So, let's go over here. First testimonial. Okay, this is Eckhart's Ladder. If you guys don't know, he is a very respected YouTuber. This is one of his side channels. But look at the name of this video. They killed the greatest Star Wars mobile game, and I'm still mad. So Netmarble had the Star Wars IP, and this was Star Wars Force Arena. It was really fun. It was really fun. There's a lot of games like, I think like Clash Royale is kind of like this, where like, you know, you're starting, or like League of Legends kind of, you're starting at your side, you got to get to the other side, kill the turrets and stuff. But let's just listen to some of the stuff that like Eckhart's Ladder has to say about what Netmarble did to this game.
But although towards the end I did start to feel like Wales would begin to get a pretty big advantage, and the game did certainly decline near its end, I always felt like I could have a lot of fun even as a free-to-play player. And maybe
I've heard that
was one
about
of the problems,
KA.
because if Force Arena did have all of these amazing mechanics, and it existed in a
Great
time
game.
when this type of game did very well, and it had the Star Wars tie-in, and it had continual new content and meta changes and balance updates, why didn't it do very well?
Note that right up until it ended, content was added to game, meta changes. I would like a new meta change in KA. They were updating it, they were working on it, and then they just killed it.
Well, it got no support. Literally no support. I remember not seeing anything about Force Arena outside of the community that I was in. There was no ads.
Sound familiar?
The game just
Sound
didn't
familiar?
seem to exist. Lucasfilm or
Sound
Disney
familiar?
or whoever was not pushing it whatsoever, and that is, to be honest, a goddamn shame.
And I think this game lasted about a
from
year.
back in the day, and now also my good friend now Gluten Slayer, who was the Force Arena content creator, and he was an incredible personality. He was the kind of person who could have.
Anyway, so that's one Netmarble game. A lot of similarities there with what we're seeing in King Arthur Legends Rise, but that game lasted a year before all of a sudden it was radio silence and it was over. So now this is EndyGamer. So he was one of the probably the biggest content creator, one of the biggest content creators for Marvel Future Revolution, which was supposed to be Netmarble's cash cow. So it was a Marvel IP. It was a mobile game, but it was kind of an open world MMO. It has a lot of similarities to what the Game of Thrones game looks like that's coming out shortly. It looks kind of that same feel. Beautiful. They recorded symphonies for music. Cutscenes galore, voice acting everywhere, open world, beautiful game, 3 live, real-time PvP modes. So this is what Endy has to say about Marvel Future Revolution and Netmarble right before this was when we were kind of wondering, like right where we are now in King Arthur Legends Rise, this is what we were wondering about Marvel Future Revolution, because it was radio silence, there's no like dev notes, something felt wrong and off, and we were seeing player numbers just disappear. There was issues. So here's what Endy has to say about Marvel Future Revolution and Netmarble.
It is how they are doing the worst job, and this is why Netmarble is getting so much hate for every game that they do.
This was back in 2022.
Every time Netmarble is behind a game, there's so much hype that automatically gets lost.
Yep.
As soon as people find out that Netmarble is behind it, because they know one thing. They know that Netmarble is going to get their IP, a popular IP, or any game.
Marvel, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, King Arthur.
Through the gate, very greedy. They're gonna start very greedy, and next thing you know, they're going to basically the game goes.
One thing I will say, though, is that with King Arthur Legends Rise, it feels like they've almost been too generous to the point where everything was so much cheaper that everyone just went immediately to Endgame within the first month. Right? So, but there was lots and lots. Like, I remember that first, I think 3 weeks in, we started out with those like $8 packs, the $4 packs. Then all of a sudden it was like 150, 175, pay up. And I think
into maintenance mode because it's going to get over gate very greedy. They're going to start very greedy. And next thing you know,
maintenance
they're
mode.
going to basically the game goes into maintenance mode because it's going to get overbalanced, not overbalanced, but it's going to get very unbalanced so fast.
I miss you, Indy.
They want to capitalize on the beginning of the hype and make as much money as they can and then move on to the next project.
Cash grab, move on.
This is as they have done this with so many other games. I've been doing research and seeing all the other games.
I'm trying to tell them, Andy. I'm trying to tell them.
It looks like they do this with every single game. Look at Ni no Kuni. Look at what happened with that. It was so good. And bam.
Never played that.
Still making money, but still.
And now, that game's gone.
When it comes to these big IPs, that's why, some people are like excited for the Game of Thrones.
Look at that. Game of Thrones. They've been developing Game of Thrones since 2022. A lot like King Arthur Legends Rise, like a 2-year development time. Like, I don't know anything about how long it takes to develop a game, but I don't know. So that was what he had to say. That was basically like a commentary on how Netmarble more so than Marvel Future Revolution, but we're going to get into some of that specific. Now this is Cynicalex. If you guys don't know who Cynicalex is, he is the biggest content creator for one of the a 10-year-old Netmarble project or game called Marvel Future Fight, which is another Marvel IP. And this was his commentary on the Marvel Future Revolution shutting down after only 2 years.
So anyways, we strive to exceed the expectations of our agents since launch, but now the adventures of Prime Raiders must come to an end. It's really funny how these always read, because they always read as basically like we had the best intentions, we tried our best, but we failed miserably. And there's not a lot of accountability here. There's not a lot of like, what we did wrong. There's basically.
Are you hearing anything from the developers?
What we did wrong, how we could have made the game better. To be fair to them,
I like this part right here.
Really hard up to the launch of the game.
Sounds
but
familiar.
Also, to be fair in the criticism, when they didn't get the
immediate
reaction,
money,
and when they didn't have the support immediately that they thought the game was going to have,
boom,
I feel like
gone.
The devs they jumped out of the plane and they pulled the parachute
they
so
did.
fast.
They absolutely did. They just abandoned that game, and it was such a beautiful game.
Did not have any kind of legs to sort of weather inconsistencies, to weather the storm. I think it's crazy because this game obviously had a much larger budget.
That game was huge for Netmarble.
Like Marvel Future Fight, right? This game had basically the best graphics you can expect on a mobile
and
game.
It failed.
Even 2 years later, the graphics on mobile games have not gotten better than Marvel Future Revolution. Over 100 costumes for each character.
And what I want to say is, right before they announced maintenance mode in that game, they had a huge content drop. They had their biggest hero release ever in Wolverine, and they had just dropped a brand new game mode, which was like a 3-team versus 3-team kind of solo game mode. So you make a lineup of 4 heroes on a team. They go in, they fight the other team. If they die, then the other team comes in and replaces them, and it's PvP mode like that. I think it was called Squad Battles is what it was called. So again, biggest hero release, new game mode, and I remember just a whole bunch of juicy packs, and then almost 3 weeks later, maintenance mode announcement. A year later, the game is over. So one more from EndyGamer on, again, his reaction to Marvel Future Revolution from Netmarble shutting down.
And now it is with heavy hearts and much consideration that we have decided to end our services on August 25th, 2023.
Exactly 2
That
years.
is 2 years since the game launched. Let's be honest, the game was dead within that first year. Maybe in the first 6 months. The first 3 months, people were like, okay.
See? First 3 months, everyone's... After 6 months, we knew the game was dead. 6 months later, game officially dead. Or maintenance mode, and then a year later, officially dead.
Something ain't right here. By the time it got to 6 months, a lot of people already left.
Gone.
Before that year was over.
Huge player exodus from that game. And it was a massive game at launch. Like, they had Darth microtransactions, they had mobile gamer, they had huge content creators. They had I think they made 9 to 7 million in the first week the game came out. Huge. And then just wet turd. And it was such a beautiful game.
The game was already crumbling, and we didn't even get an anniversary. Remember when we tried to get the anniversary?
No anniversary.
Did we ever get acknowledged? Hey guys, happy anniversary. No, we ain't got horse shit, man. That's what we got. We didn't get shit. We got Wolverine though. He was pretty cool.
He was cool.
Did we get a live stream for Wolverine? We didn't.
Nope.
I was the one doing the live stream for Wolverine.
So there's just some testimonials about so when I try to convey the fact that I've been around Netmarble games for a long time, this is their MO. This is just what they've done for 10 years now. 10 years now. This is what they've done. Big, huge release, and then very, very quickly they just abandon it and it's gone. Star Wars Force Arena, Marvel Future Revolution, like he said, Ni no Kuni, and I don't know how many other games that have come, but they do have some successes. So a lot of people are going to be like, no, it's a great company, blah, blah, blah. They have some hits, and I've heard people say it. Oh, Seven Deadly Sins, blah, blah. Yes, they sometimes win, but it seems like all the games with North American or European IPs, huge failures. Okay, so let's go into the sensor data. Oh, One, I have another graphic I want to show you before we do that. So, talking about Marvel Future Revolution, just some of their financials. So here we go. This is that game that we just kind of discussed. We saw 2 people's testimonials on it. First week snapshot. Sensor Tower data indicates it brought in 7 million in the first week across iOS and Android. 6.6 million downloads. Including early downloads. This suggests a robust week or launch week with that 30 million within that 30 million first month figure. $30 million in the first month. By October 2022, so this is a year later, Sensor Tower estimates monthly revenue at $200,000 a month, with 100,000 downloads. I want you to keep in mind these numbers. Because this in August of 22, they announced maintenance mode, and then a year later they just end a service. Keep in mind the numbers where they abandoned the game. $200,000 USD revenue, 100,000 downloads, indicating a sharp decline from its peak earlier in 2023. So a little bit later, estimates suggested it had plateaued around 8 to 9 million USD monthly at its height in early 2022. Though this may conflate with other blah, 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 blah. Revenue tapered off significantly after the initial hype, with August 2023, this is right before the game shut down, data showed it was only getting 40,000 downloads per month. Okay? Keep those numbers in mind. Total revenue as the game shut down on August 25th, exactly 2 years after launch, given the 30 million first month and blah, blah, blah. And I don't have because the total revenue doesn't matter. I just wanted this later trends. I really wanted you guys to just keep in mind this right before it shut down, 100,000 downloads, 200,000 a month. And then right before it shut down, 40,000 downloads. Now let's go over and let's look at some Sensor Tower data. Okay, boom. All right, Netmarble games. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see here, Solo Leveling Arise came out on May 7th, 2024. The last 30 days, almost 1 million mobile downloads across iOS and Google Play. $3 million a month in revenue. And then we got a Korean game, 8,000 downloads, almost nothing, and $2 million a month. another Korean game, 50,000 downloads, 2 million a month. Seven Deadly Sins came out in 2020. This last month, only 30,000 downloads. So the game population is pretty much plateaued, but it's still generating $1 million a month in revenue. And then we got some, this looks like another Korean game. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then right here, Marvel Future Fight. That was Cynicalex's game. So last 30 days, 30,000 downloads still, but it generates still $500,000 a month. The game came out in 2015, April 2015. So 10 years ago. Last update was 12 days ago. And then we got a Korean game, and then now we get King Arthur Legends Rise. 20,000 downloads. Remember when they shut down Marvel Future Revolution, it was what? 40,000. I just want to just confirm. I guess I got to go back to here. 40,000 downloads before they killed it, before they pulled the plug. King Arthur's Legends Rise across mobile, 20,000 in the last 30 days. So yes, I hear people saying this argument. I know new people are playing the game. Yeah, there's going to be new people trickling in right until at EOS, right until end of service. But Marvel Future Fight, which is a 10-year-old game, is getting 50% more downloads per month than King Arthur Legends Rise that has been out for 4 months. And the revenue, this is what the revenue is for the last 30 days. Now, keep in mind that in the last 30 days has also included all of the negative feedback. But across mobile, and we saw the figures, usually PC revenue is about 20 to 30% of mobile revenue. So let's say the game brought in, well, we know it brought in $300,000 in the last 30 days. So basically March, and 25% of that, 30% of that is almost just like, I don't know, like 80K, I think, 75, 80K. So, 400,000, which this game with 10,000 downloads is beating it. So when you see the money they're bringing in, and if there is not something, if there is not a new hero, if there's not something of new content, I'll come back to this in a month, and let's just see how much the revenue dives off a cliff for the next 30 days. Maybe we'll do that. I should still be around here at the end of April. We'll see. Maybe I won't. But now you guys have some evidence, and it is indelibly stamped on my YouTube channel that the metrics for this game, 20,000 downloads, $300,000 revenue. They said the last update was 9 days ago. That would have been the two banners currently in game, right? So, given Netmarble's history, which you guys I've given you guys the receipts. I've given you the receipts. You know what's going on now. I shouldn't have to have this discussion over and over and over again in the Discord channels. There are severe red flags for the game we are currently playing, the game I'm currently covering. It's not looking good given Netmarble's history and given the metrics of the game, which I've given you guys the numbers. They're not good. They are not good. So, yes, and people will be like, oh, they've added all this and this and this content. Force Arena, they were adding content up until they decided to pull the plug. Marvel Future Revolution, they were adding content until they decided that they were going to pull the plug. They have this stuff already built. They're rolling it out. Again, I think that 100-day pack anniversary that came out of nowhere was just a last-minute cash grab. You guys saw Susie play. She called it a last-minute cash grab. Am I crying? Or am I just spitting the facts? And I hope I'm wrong. And I got something kind of teed up for you guys, just for you. So after all this is said and done, I'm planning to release this Tuesday morning, the patch day. But if they come out and have some huge content drop, then you guys can say I'm wrong, and then we got this.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber. you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Love it. Love it. And that could happen. So I like the game, but this last week has been rough. It's just felt rough to me. If we don't get any new heroes or any new content tonight, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be playing and covering this game. I'm just being honest, because it's just going through the motions. There's not a single hero that I'd want to build. And I want to reiterate, for free-to-play or people just coming into this game, you have a long run road ahead of you. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, or runway. I know a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, you wailed out. I didn't really spend a whole lot of money on this game because we didn't have to. And there's just nothing to do. There should be something to do. Every other single mobile game, I've met very, very few people that have gotten completely to endgame with nothing. With nothing. This game has nothing currently now if you're at endgame. So, and I'm what could I do? Oh, I could get Nika to C10. Or I could get, I could get my Vivian and Charlotte to C10. I don't need to. I got all my rares at C. I don't need to. There's nothing else. I don't need a new hero because we have nothing I would need a new hero for. The only way we would need new heroes is if they gave us more content. Say if they gave us 10 more levels to each dungeon and then gave the boss new mechanics that we had to use a new hero to get through. The last mobile game I played, Eternal Evolution, they did exactly that. Every new hero came with a dungeon tweak that required the new hero. So you were constantly building something to constantly beat something. And that went on over and over and over and over again. So for free to play, absolutely, if you like this game, continue to play. But the numbers don't lie. The population is dwindling. The downloads are dwindling. The revenue is dwindling. We haven't had a dev note in a long time. There's been zero communication from the devs, and we've had no new heroes in the last month, and new heroes are a primary revenue driver for mobile games. Given Netmarble's history, I think the evidence is all supporting my perspective. So go make another cry video. All right? At least I'm not pouring out a drink for this one. So ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to present you with a bunch of facts. I went through, I spent a lot of time researching, looking up clips, looking up testimonials. I'm sorry if this gets you down. I know people are going to say CCs should not make videos like this. You know what? Don't spend any money in this game. Don't spend any more money in this game because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. That money could just go poof, gone. Gone. And it's sad because this game's only been out for 4 months. 4 months. But then again, like you saw Andy say, the writing was on the wall for Marvel Future Revolution after 3 months and then definitely after 6 months. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think because this is completely different than anything I've ever made. We'll see what happens tonight. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Peace. Bye-bye.